Welcome back, guys. Today we are going to dust off the Ferrari 308 project and figure out how to overcome a lot of inertia, because over the last 2 weeks I've spent most of my time on the Model A, and then I spent Thanksgiving weekend out camping with some friends for a much needed reprieve, and now we have lost our momentum, and I think this is the most challenging part of any build that anyone undertakes. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. I've got a few new parts to show you for the 308. I've got some updates on the Model A. I've got a long-awaited update for the E36 that I had no idea was going to happen, and sitting over here in the corner, I've got a new engine here in the shop. You guys can try your best to guess what it is. It's for that secret project I've been mentioning. So we're making progress in a lot of different places. Kick back, we're talking shop today. Let's get to it. We're starting out with the latest addition to the shop, which is a bit of rearranging and a nice new workbench built by my buddy John. He took it upon himself to make some improvements around the shop, so we added some LED lighting, mounted a nice 55-inch TV, which will be perfect for checking out wiring diagrams or watching my favorite movie, Layer Cake, while I'm trying to get things done, and of course underneath the workbench is a perfect spot for Chloe and her toys and crate. The only reason any of you guys might care is the fact that it does give us a good place to open up our latest part for the Ferrari. I've used Clutchmasters kits on several cars in the past, so I was quite excited when Alex King from Clutchmasters reached out and offered this for the project. Now, we will go into more technical details once we go to install this on the car, but in short, Clutchmasters 725 series is a 7¼ inch twin disc clutch setup. This one's still in the R&D phase, so it's a bit of a prototype unit, but what Clutchmasters has managed to pull off is packing a pair of sprung clutch discs inside of this setup. That's a bit of a feat, considering most twin disc setups for Honda transmissions are unsprung discs. The payoffs for this entire package mean we've got low rotational mass, nice friendly drivability, a very high power threshold, and it will be nice and friendly to our transmission. It of course comes with all the other parts and pieces that we need to install it, and I'm excited to take this thing apart and show you how it works in a more in-depth look in a future episode. I've got some other new parts for the Ferrari as well, but I'm going to save them for Friday's episode when we're actually going to be working on the car, because I think we might be making some revisions. Now, onto the Model A. In the last episode, we took this thing for its first test drive, and I outlined the fact that it's not running correctly yet. And I think it has to do with the cam timing. We retimed the second bank, but there still could be a possibility of mistiming in the first. And after learning the history of the engine, I'm inclined to replace all of the timing components in this thing. So I've ordered up a complete cam timing kit from Ford Performance, which includes Mustang cam phasers. And I have a gut feeling that that's going to be the problem. I think this thing might have F-150 cam phasers in it, to be honest with you. But I'll feel a whole lot better once we retime the engine and I know the components and pieces in it are correct, and we can move on to tuning on the dyno. Other than that though, the Model A is more or less tidied up, wrapped up, it's finished. We just need to get that tuning done. Which brings us to a largely forgotten project here in the shop, my S54 swapped E36, which is in a half-finished state, but I do have a bit of an update. It comes from the inside of the car. The interior on this thing is borderline trashed. As you can see, it's got no door panels. They've fallen apart over time, as E36 door panels tend to do. I've got no headliner in the car right now because we converted it to a slick top, and I have sourced a slick top headliner, but we need to have it recovered, along with the pillars and the rear partial shelf, which is faded and turned totally purple. The seats are all, I don't know, they're all dirty from just having no glass in this thing. The body shop and then here at this shop, very dirty. I've got a comfort seat on one side and a Momo on the other that has faded completely. Lots of parts and pieces in here I need to install still. Overall, the interior of this car is what needs a ton of work. That's not to say that the rest of the car doesn't need a ton of work as well, but I have all of the parts and pieces that I need to finish it, save for the wheels. I haven't fully decided what I'm doing there yet, even though I do have a set of FM5s for it. The interior is what has really kept me from diving in and finishing the car. I've said in a previous episode that I want to make sure I don't leave any aspect of this car unfinished when I put it back on the road, because I want to make sure there's nothing to not fall in love with. If there's something that kind of eats at me, I know I'll just wind up parking it and it'll sit parked forever again. And I don't want that, which means we've got to sort the interior of this car, and that brings us to the whole update of this thing. My buddy Evan Brown, who I've mentioned in previous episodes, he's in good shape these days. You've been following along with him. Item B. He posted up a real, authentic 325 M-Tech Rain interior. Now, if you don't know, there were 125 M-Tech 325s built in, I believe, 1994 as a precursor to the M3 before BMW knew that we were going to get an M3 here in North America. Now, the M-Tech 325s came with a certain special wheel on them and then that interior and a few other small options. My car is a 325. It's not an M3. It is a 1993 325. And my dream interior is to find one of those M-Tech interiors. And he posted one up, and I jumped on it immediately. And I'm excited to say I have one now. Some of the parts and pieces probably need to be refinished or recovered, but overall, I think this is going to be so cool, even if I have to, reupholster some of it, knowing that it's authentic, or at least began as authentic, is important to me. And it's that last big piece of the puzzle for the E36. I'm gonna take those Brid Zeta 2s that we bought for the Ferrari that we're not gonna put in it. I'm gonna have those recovered in matching M fabric and put them in the E36. And that means all of the E36 pieces that we need, save for a few small bits and pieces, are here. There's a lot of trim pieces and things like that, but the big stuff, it's all figured out now. We just gotta put it together, and I gotta figure out those wheels. Now we get to talk about what's in the giant box sitting in the middle of the shop. I mentioned before that it's an engine, and it's for that project that I have yet to reveal. Now, I'm not gonna tell you what the engine is yet because, well, that'd give away the project, but we are gonna send this thing off to get built because I'm looking to make, give or take, about 500 wheel horsepower. So it's gonna need some forged guts. All right, so leave a comment and let me know what engine you think is in the box. The Patreon supporters already know, so don't spill the beans. But if you don't know, you can also take a guess at what's under that cover back there. That arrived when I rearranged the cars. When I put the truck up top and got the Model A down, an extra car showed up and no one even noticed, which is kind of funny. It's been hiding in the back of the shop for about 4 months now. So I'm excited to show you at some point. I'm still waiting. I want to have more of my ducks in a row before we get there. All right, so let's talk 308. I'm not going to be fabricating anything in this episode because I have to figure out where on earth to pick up from here. So if you don't want to listen to me talk about the 308 for an episode, skip to the end to hear what we're going to do in the next one. Now, why am I just going to talk about what to do instead of doing it? Well, like I said, I've got to figure it out because I have no idea. And I wanted to highlight this moment right here because I personally think it's a pretty important one for anybody that's ever had a project car. I'm sure we have all, in some fashion, experienced the loss of momentum and extreme project inertia. When you lose that momentum and your project car sits, it is all but impossible to get back into it. I've been there, and everyone that I know has been there. It is really a huge personal challenge to go out to the garage and pick up your tools and start working again when you may have no idea where you left off or what to do next, or most importantly, you just don't have that motivation. It feels like a huge task, a huge barrier in front of you. And at the moment, I look at this car and I think, where on earth do I even begin? I haven't worked on it in 2 weeks now. I've been hard at work on the Model A, and then I took some time off. And so now I'm faced with this problem of, I don't even want to work on any of the stuff that is in front of me right now. I really want my wheels, and I've mentioned and explained it before, but unfortunately, I don't know where they are, and I don't know when I'm gonna get them. I have thought about perhaps changing the wheel idea so I can get this car done, but I don't know if I'm fully willing to sacrifice that ultimate vision that I had just to get the car done sooner. I'm not there yet. Now, why do I need the wheels? Well, I've explained before, but if you missed it, the wheels are holding up so many aspects of this project. I can't finalize all of my control arms, I can't mount the coilovers, I can't put the car on the ground, I can't finish the steering, I can't order the axles, we cannot drive it, blah, blah, blah. Now there's a lot of other stuff in here that needs to get done before we can drive it, but the engine side of this thing is pretty close to done. I'm waiting on a wiring harness from Ryan over at Rywire. We've got a little bit of plumbing left to do and a decent bit of welding and exhaust to make, but the rest of the engine swap is more or less finished, and the engine harness itself is done. The standalone is in. Most of the lines are wrapped up. There's still some work to do, but it is getting pretty close. Inside the car, it's lots of just finish details and small stuff here and there. All of the big hurdles are cleared, and the same goes for the front, aside from having to actually fabricate that big hood intake duct, or exhaust duct rather. Now, yes, clearly there are a lot of things left to do on this car, a whole lot. But I find myself frustrated because I don't really want to do any of those. I want those wheels so I can put the car on the ground and feel that sense of motivation when I get to see this thing sitting in front of me the way that it's going to be when it actually gets to drive. But that's a ways off. So I'm facing this problem of, where do I even begin? How do I get back into this thing? Now, as said, I'm not gonna start any projects today. I took the weekend off and I gotta get this episode together and out to you guys. But I'm thinking for Friday's episode, there are a number of things that I would like to accomplish. I'm gonna order up our brake master cylinders and get them installed in our pedal box. I'm gonna get that pedal box all welded up and installed in the car. I know that we can accomplish those. I'm gonna get our rear wing uprights welded together, and I'm gonna see if I can convince Amir to bring that rear wing over so we can mock it up on the car and get the second pair of uprights drawn up, finalized, or maybe even built and get the wing mounted on the car by Friday. That would be pretty sweet, if not a bit ambitious. I'm gonna go order up some more carpet and make some more progress on the inside of the car so we can start crossing some stuff off the list in there. I've got some changes to make to the seat mounts and see if we can't make some more headroom. I wanna get some material for the headliner. And we can also talk about welding up that roll bar and getting it back in the car. Now, will I finish all of this stuff? I don't know. But we're gonna try, and I can guarantee that for the next episode, we're gonna have a lot of progress because we've gotta get back into this thing. I know it's been several weeks since you've seen anything happen with it, and a lot of those episodes in those weeks prior have been kind of slow progress. I thought this car would be done by this point, and it turns out filming everything and doing it all by myself and editing all of these episodes and producing content and having to solve problems on this thing as the scope of the project grows a lot, well, it tends to take time to build a car like this. But subscribe if you haven't. I'll be back on Friday with an episode for you guys, and I'm pretty excited about getting back in on this thing and making more progress than ever. So I'll catch you guys then. Thank you as always for the support, and hopefully next week I'll have a merch update for you. We'll have to find out. I'll see you guys then.